www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants today and establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
Despite its rich array of energy resources, the Eastern Africa-Southern Africa-Indian Ocean region faces serious energy challenges.
One of the main challenges is energy poverty, and also we are dependent on biomass resources.
Another challenge is sometimes when it's raining, like the rain season.
Good evening and welcome to Prime Edition tonight, a day when political activities continue to characterize the campaign trail. We got details about what the Azimio la Umoja, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance and the One Kenya Alliance was up to today.
Plus, of course, the person who hopes to be the third force, Speaker J.B. Muturi, is with us in studio. A recorded interview as regards his presidential ambitions and what his presidency would mean for Kenya. That will be coming a little bit later. But for now, let's have a look at the highlights. Sham offensive. Raila Odinga takes presidential campaign to Nakuru, promises to resettle IDPs. 2022 presidential debate. Media stakeholders unveil roadmap. And ugly face of insecurity. Student killed in Sinoni area of Baringa County.
And we begin straight away. And Wangeshi is our sign language interpreter. My name is Serfine Achieng Oma.
And my name is John Jacob Kioria. Tonight, the One Kenya Alliance, OKA, has for the second time in a week postponed the signing of a coalition agreement ahead of the August 9th polls after its leaders sought more time to address what they termed as raised legal issues on the agreement.
NARC Kenya leader Martha Karua said OKA is still committed to its unity and will now give a new date when the four principals will sign the agreement.
The signing, which had been scheduled for today, will now take place next week, with OKA leaders saying the move will allow further interrogation of the deal and handling of raised concerns by parties.
The postponement now puts off the sealing of the proposed Azimio OKA deal, even as OKA principals commit to their allegiance to the One Kenya Alliance.
Coalition agreement today, but we have postponed to polish certain legal issues that have arisen. Nevertheless, we are committed to our unity, and in a few days we will be letting you know the time we shall sign the agreement.
We're happy to report that the best legal minds are now working on it and have assured us that by this week it will be over and we'll be good to go early next week.
Now, stakeholders in the media sector have launched the 2022 presidential debate ahead of the August polls.
Media Owners Association, Media Council of Kenya and the Kenya Editors Guild will collaborate with political parties to hold the debate, which is intended to enable Kenyans make an informed decision in the August polls. It is less than 6 months to the August general elections, with politicians traversing different parts of the country to woo the electorate. The choice of who among them will represent Kenyans is left for voters to decide. In efforts to help Kenyans make that crucial decision, the Media Owners Association, Media Council of Kenya and the Kenya Editors Guild have launched the 2022 presidential and deputy presidential debates to be held in the month of July.
Kenya is getting into a critical phase of a transitional election, with all eyes trained on the key contenders for the presidency and by extension their running mates. The media's place in leading the way in facilitating Kenyans to evaluate the presidential and deputy presidential candidates is most vital now than before.
To help in steering the preparations for the debate, the media entities formed a secretariat to be chaired by Clifford Mashoka, currently head of external affairs and marketing at the Nation Media Group.
A team of senior editors from across media houses have been established to provide stewardship of the content aspects, given how critical the debates are to ensure the public interest obligations are served.
Kenya had its first televised presidential debate in 2013, which saw 8 presidential candidates engage each other and the Kenyan people on the future of the country. In 2017, the media collaborated to hold debates for both presidential candidates and their running mates to discuss priorities, public policy, and development aspects key to Kenyans.
During these debates, the public gets to listen to the candidates and gauge what their priorities could be once they assume office. In that way, they catalyze issues-based elections.
And now on to matters security. Tension is high in Sinoni area of Baringo County after a Form 3 student was shot dead in yet another banditry attack in the area.
The latest incident has raised concerns over the security of learners with the national examinations set to begin next week.
Residents of Sinoni in Baringo South continue to live in fear with the rate of banditry attacks and murder reports escalating. The region, which was meant for an intense 14 days security operation from the government, is yet to report calmness. A Form 3 student was reportedly killed just a few days before the start of national examinations.
Na tunapoangalia kwa makini ni kama kuna njama sasa ya kutishia wanafunzi, kwa sababu wanaona kwamba wakitishia wanafunzi itakuwa ni vigumu mashule kufunguliwa. Nafikiri njama ya hawa wakora sasa ni kufunga mashule na kuhakikisha ya kwamba hakuna mashule yenye inaendelea na masomo.
Kama wakaaji wa Kasiela Sinoni tutaendelea kukwisha, sababu tulikuwa tarajia operation ifanyike na askari wa KDF walikuja, na mimi nafikiri kari yao ikaanguka hapo, hiyo ABC yao hapa tu Sinoni, na nasema ilikuwa intention sababu ikari ilianguka na wakarudi.
Families which had fled to the area from areas of Kasiela, Timanian, Seretion and Menmeno due to frequent banditry attacks have been left in distress. Parents are now calling for 24 hours security surveillance in the school.
Ningeomba serikali ikuje iangalie hii maneno ya insecurity. Juu hata kama sasa watu wakisumbuliwa, hata sisi kwa barabara tutasumbuliwa. So tungeomba serikali iharakishe.
The incident was reported after a similar murder case at Tuyotich Mixed Secondary School in Mochongoi Ward. More than 10 schools have already been closed in the area of a spate of insecurity. Frederick Muki for Prime Edition.
Now let's head over to the corridors of justice and some of the crucial documents needed as exhibits in the 73.4 million shillings graft case against Migori Governor Okodobado. His children and 13 others were destroyed in a fire at the county offices soon after investigations started.
A forensic expert attached to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, however, detailed how some of the documents they assessed revealed how over 20 companies involved in the graft ring were irregularly awarded tenders.
Serfine has the details of this and other stories from the courts.
Yes, Your Honor. On the second day of his testimony, prosecution witness Robert Rono, a forensic expert attached
at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission narrated the challenges they faced when investigating the multi-million shilling graft scandal involving Migori Governor Okoth Obado, his children and 13 others. Several of the required documents went up in smoke in a mysterious fire incident at the county offices on the 25th September 2017 that the guard on duty had no clue about. The hearing continues from the 14th of March, with more witnesses expected to take to the stand. Meanwhile, the court has allowed businesswoman Mary Wamboi and her daughter Purity Njoki, who are charged with tax evasion to the tune of 2 billion shillings in 2021, to substitute their bond terms. Magistrate Felix Kombo granted their request for time to examine the sureties, but directed the sureties be taken through approval before they can change the bond terms that were fixed at 50 million shillings. The pre-trial date has been set for the 16th of March 2022. Lynn Chalo for Prime Edition.
Now, today was also a very critical day. Christian faithful across the country joined their counterparts worldwide to usher in Ash Wednesday, which marks 40 days of the Lenten period.
During this period, the faithful are expected to undertake penance, pray, fast, and give alms.
On this day, the faithful's foreheads are marked with ash, denoting the origin of man from dust.
This year, the faithful are being called upon to pray for peace.
Wednesday afternoon at the Holy Family Minor Basilica in Nairobi County. Faithful are gathered here to mark Ash Wednesday with over 10 services lined up. A sign of the cross is marked on their forehead using ashes. The day signifying the beginning of 40 days of the Lenten season that is characterized with prayer, fasting and almsgiving.
Life is not in our hands. We need divine intervention. We need the mercy of God. Without God, we are nothing. There's no life. We are like what? Ashes.
Bishop Kamau noting that Christians will be presented with a challenge to safeguard the country's peace during the electioneering period, with a political class urged to shun divisive politics.
We don't know what will happen. It's all kind of a crisis that we don't run away, but we put things in God's hands and we do our best. We do what we are supposed to do. You know what you are supposed to do. Do it.
I urge the leaders to heed the call of the church, to promote peace and to respect life. Because if people disagree and, of course, get so much polarized and antagonized, then they can easily even engage in physical confrontations.
At St. Anne and Joachim Church in Kiambu, the peace message reverberated with a call to the faithful to pray for peace in Ukraine.
That the Russians, the Ukrainians, they are neighbors, that they can be neighbors to one another.
The Lenten season is marked from Ash Wednesday to Easter and is often marked in remembrance of Jesus Christ's sacrifice and withdrawal into the desert for 40 days.
As Ash Wednesday was marked to usher in the Lenten season, Christian faithful have been urged to refrain from harmful pleasures and focus on praying for peace as the country approaches the general election. Nancy Okwari, reporting for Prime Edition from Holy Family Basilica, Nairobi.
The very best to Christians who are celebrating Ash Wednesday today, and we wish them 40 days of celebrating Lenten. Let's go back to politics now. And the Orange Democratic Movement party leader Raila Odinga now says the resettling of internally displaced persons will be his top priority once he ascends to power.
Speaking during campaign rallies in Nakuru County, Raila regretted that most of the residents who are affected by the 2007-2008 post-election violence, particularly in Molo, are still in anguish and need to be resettled.
The Azimio la Umoja movement on Wednesday pitched tent in Nakuru County in a vote hunting mission. It is here where ODM leader Raila Odinga promised to ensure the internally displaced persons in Nakuru County are resettled once he assumes office. Raila at the same time said his government will foster peace in the region under the Azimio banner. Odinga, who made inroads in the county wooing voters in Molo, Turi, Njoro and Kisulusuli areas, promised to get a lasting solution to the fertilizer menace affecting most of the farmers.
Vile vile tutarudisha bei ya mbolea chini kutoka 6,000 mpaka 2,000. Serikali itafanya subsidy ili wakulima wapate afueni.
The former premier also said affordable health care for the vulnerable through Baba Care will be his priority once he occupies the top seat in the land.
Suluhisho ni Baba Care. Semeni Baba Care. Wakenya wote, watoto, vijana, wakina mama, wazee, wako wote katika bima ya matibabu. Wale ambao hawezi kulipa, serikali itawalipia. Ili wakiwa wagonjwa watapata matibabu hata kama hawana pesa. Unaunga mkono?
Leaders who accompanied him faulted the Kenya Kwanza Alliance, saying they have nothing new to offer to Kenyans.
Ukiangalia timu yetu hivi, uangalie timu ya baba na uangalie wale wengine. Timu gani ndio inajua kucheza? Timu gani ndio inajua uchumi? Timu gani ndio itapeleka mbele? Timu gani? Timu gani?
Mutapatia baba kura. Mutapatia baba kura. Wapi kura za baba? Wapi kura za baba?
Kazi ya kwanza kufanya. Unajua sasa Nakuru ni city. Tunataka ufufue yote factories za Nakuru. Vijana warudi kazi.
With only 160 days remaining for Kenyans to witness a change of guard, ODM leader Raila Odinga is keen on ensuring he's leaving no stone unturned as he makes his 5th stop at the presidency to become the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. Timothy Kipnoso for Prime Edition, Nakuru County.
Thank you, Timothy, from Nakuru County. Now we take you to Kisii County. The Kenya Kwanza Alliance is promising a turnaround in the country's economy should it win in the forthcoming presidential elections.
The alliance, under the stewardship of Ford Kenya Party leader Moses Wetangula, took its campaigns to Nyamira and Kisii counties to popularize the bottom-up economic model, as Weekly Fokech now reports.
In less than a month, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance was back in Nyamira and Kisii counties to popularize its agenda.
Harambe!
This time round, under the stewardship of Ford Kenya Party leader Moses Wetangula, who represented his counterparts William Ruto and Musalia Mudavadi, who are currently out of the country. While addressing gatherings in the two counties, Wetangula and accompanying leaders promised a turnaround in the country's economy through the bottom-up economic model.
Mara mingi viongozi wetu wameketi kule Nairobi, wanazungumzia kwa radio, kwa TV, mwananchi wa kawaida hafikiwi. Wakipanga maneno huko, kuanza juu, wakiteremuka. Sisi tunataka kuanza chini, tukipanda.
Serikali ya Kenya Kwanza ni serikali ya kusaidia mwananchi wa hapa chini. Mtu wa bodaboda, watu mama boga, watu wa matatu, mkulima wa kawaida.
The leaders told the gatherings that the Kenya Kwanza Alliance will prioritize agriculture, healthcare and education should it ascend to power after the 9th August polls.
Sisi kama Kenya Kwanza tutazingatia masilahi ya mkulima na tutaleta GMR, guaranteed minimum returns, na hakuna wakati tutakubali mbolea ifike zaidi ya shilingi 2,000 kwa mkulima kila mfuko. Kwa sababu tusiposaidia mkulima hawezi kuwa na pesa mfukoni.
Wetangula used the opportunity to implore his former colleague in the One Kenya Alliance, Kalonzo Musyoka, to join the supposed winning team.
My brother Kalonzo, you and I have known each other for long, worked together. We like each other so much politically and socially. I want to urge you, wewe kuja tutembee pamoja, tuunde serikali ya Kenya Kwanza, tubadilishe nchi yetu.
And while the leaders urged President Kenyatta to steer clear of succession politics, members of parliament from the region vowed to advance the Kenya Kwanza Alliance agenda in the region.
Sisi kama jamii ya Mkisii tumekataa kupangwa.
Kwa hivyo sote tukue pamoja. Ikifika tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8 mwaka huu, rais atakuwa ni nani? Rais ni nani?
Even as Kenya Kwanza maintains that it is the best bet to land the presidency in the forthcoming general elections, the alliance is also urging voters from the Gusii community to use their voting power to decide the country's next course of leadership. Weekly for Cage, Prime Edition from Kisii County.
All right, and the politics is not over. In a bit, we'll be looking at the game plan by the Democratic Party.
The party leader and Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, speaking to us in a recorded interview. And if you thought it was getting hot, it's going to get hotter in the coming months.
All right.
But for now, we take a break. We're coming back.
African, that this same sense of mission will reinforce the response to the other great challenges that confront the African people. The international community too must play its legitimate role for support and cooperation to this endeavor. This is the first time that the United Nations will work in integrated manner to promote the development of an entire continent.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Despite its rich array of energy resources, the Eastern Africa-Southern Africa-Indian Ocean region faces serious energy challenges.
One of the main challenges is energy poverty, and also we are dependent on biomass resources.
Another challenge is sometimes when it's raining, like the rain season.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. Now, on this other part, we take you to Parliament, where debate on the Division of Revenue Bill commenced in the National Assembly Wednesday, with MPs raising concerns over wastage in county government.
The 47 county governments will receive 370 billion shillings, an equivalent of 26.7% of the total national revenue.
The House watchdog committees have meanwhile expressed dissatisfaction with the utilization of conditional grant for leasing medical equipment.
Discussion on how 2 trillion shillings will be shared between the national government and the devolved units is now before the House. Treasury proposes national government to receive 1.7 trillion shillings to be shared amongst the 3 arms, while county equitable share has been retained at 370 billion shillings.
The constitutional percentage is 15%, and so when we get 27%, we think that's a trial by the government, Honourable Speaker. But even so, we think that this percentage is high because there is goodwill from the present government.
14 marginalized counties will benefit from 7 billion shillings proposed in the Equalization Fund.
For those previous subsequent years, there is the Equalization Fund which has been factored in. In this year, it is 7 billion. In last year, there was 6 billion shillings, which up to today, that money has not been expended. And it has not reached the intended counties for desire of bridging the differences in terms of development for this nation.
Supporting the bill, MPs hit out at the county governments for misappropriation of funds.
The ECDE that will be done by the county, you will hear, has costed like 1.5 billion. But the most ridiculous thing is that on the day of commissioning that ECDE, if you look at the total cost
the budget for the commissioning, yeah, from the tents, from the entertainment, the public mobilization, it costs about another 1 million.
The issue of debt management also reared its head again.
Debt is also okay, but in all these countries we talk about, in Japan you're not going to get debt and waste it. In the US you're not going to borrow and steal it. But we have big problems around that.
Bishop Kiwashira, Prime Edition.
Now, gender stereotyping and cultural biases have been termed as major challenges female aspirants face in their quest to participate in active politics.
We spoke to a section of women seeking various elective positions in the upcoming polls, and they share their experiences. Julia Kamwara is an MP aspirant for Mathare constituency in Nairobi County. The tough-talking former administrator has served as a senior chief in Mathare for over 7 years. It was during this time that she came face-to-face with the violence meted against women leaders while on a mission to weed out drug cartels.
I faced a lot of challenges, especially intimidation in the office, violence, especially when I was dealing with drugs, and illicit use. I was assaulted physically, and I was admitted for almost 6 months because my hand was maimed. Just due to the goons or the cartels that take advantage of drugs in Mathare.
While acknowledging that many aspiring female leaders are threatened by this form of violence, Julia vows to defy the odds by extending her service to the people as their Member of Parliament in 2022.
I want to encourage my fellow women to come out. Don't give up. Don't leave. Keep on saying that you wish you knew. No, just take responsibility. Take a step ahead.
Her experience resonates with that of Jane Kotut, who is on the race to succeed Daniel Rono as the Member of Parliament for Keio South constituency. As a grassroots political mobilizer, Kotut argues that women must be innovative in addressing the deeply entrenched cultural biases which undermine them.
If you want to push the women agendas, you must involve men. So we must work with the men also until they realize your potential of being a leader. People must discuss in the house and say, Mimi, unajua, I'm going for politics, and you should prepare the family. Not one day you storm the wards. You prepare the family about 10 years to come. In future, I would like to be this. In future, and then it comes that time when you say, it is now my time. They will be aware.
And as calls for women's participation in politics continue to reverberate, she challenges women to step up, insisting that leadership does not come on a silver platter.
You don't just wake up, stand because you are beautiful and you are fat and you are what, and you say, now I can go and fight for that seat. Don't say because it is a time for women. No, you start from small things. You start at ile ya merry-go-round. You start munaenda juu na wengine. Start from grassroots and go up.
Political activities continue to saturate the 2022 campaign trail. It is survival for the fittest.
Ngoja kidogo. Niwaulize tena. Haya, ngoja niwaulize tena. Ngoja.
The resilience of female aspirants who have thrown their hearts in the ring is, however, a sign that a new dawn is definitely beckoning. All right, now moving this forward, film producers in Kenya are taking the art to a different level through telling stories that depict local challenges and solutions.
Such is the film Mukami, which our reporter Jacqueline Masharia reviews tonight in our weekly feature Cinemas and Theatre.
Set in Tharaka Nithi County, the film Mokami is based on a young African girl's journey through life as a student in a community that looks down upon girls. At the height of her frustration and conflict, she's about to give up on her dreams when she meets a retired doctor playing chess. He trains her on the game, which builds her mental fortitude to rise up against her social challenges, to attain a quality education and break through the glass ceiling by using chess as a tool of self-actualization. Mokami is played by Yvonne Adego.
Mokami is a girl who is coming from a homestead where her father is enlightened and he's got twins. The boy, both of them are going to school, but the mother is not her herself, did not go to school. It takes a lot of strength for Mokami to go through that situation until she reaches a breaking point. And at that point of breaking is when she chances upon a certain sport that turns around her life and gives her mental fortitude to overcome and to withstand all the bullying that is going on around her.
The film, produced by Karigo Kirago, seeks to change and impact the lives of the girl child throughout Africa, as education still stands a challenge to many.
We wanted to tell the story in our own way, stories that are emanating from our own cultures, where we have seen, like for example, boys are going to school and girls are staying at home to do the house chores. And so it is in that setup that this film is based on.
The inspirational and empowerment feature film is available in mymovies.africa.
We shot the film in Tharaka language, in Tharaka Nithi, using the cast was Tharaka people. And it's just an indication that every community can play their roles in doing something great. And we all don't have to come to town, but the town can actually go to the mashinani and come up with something good. The film industry, first of all, I would like to commend it so much for coming in to hold our hands and to hold all those other filmmakers out there. And I believe that coming this year, 2022, we're going to see a lot more local films as opposed to last year.
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and Theatre.
Before we head over to business, the National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, has called on the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to urgently develop clear safeguards that will either reduce the use of posters that lead to littering.
NEMA further wants IEBC to come up with a mechanism that will ensure that the posters are promptly and effectively removed from the environment and properly disposed of at the conclusion of the electoral campaigns.
In a letter to IEBC, NEMA says that in consideration of environmental conservation, the IEBC should ensure that the environment is not choked with posters of aspirants.
Sentiments echoed by Green Thinking Action Party, which says the electioneering period has been unfriendly to the environment.
As we deal with this now, IEBC will fail, and there needs to be some imposition of how to clean up the environment. 2 weeks, if not earlier, for the matters of posters. They need to be cleaned out of the environment immediately after the election, so that we end up having a clean environment.
The Green Thinking Action Party leader Isaac Kalua at the same time has supported the over 80,000 shillings penalty by the Kenya National Highways Authority on those defacing the highway facilities.
And therefore rules and regulations need to be very clear, so that there is no abuse and also the expense of road safety that is being done.
In a letter to the IEBC, NEMA says that in consideration of the environmental conservation, the IEBC should ensure that the environment is not choked with posters of aspirants.
So we call upon all participants, all people who are aspirants, number one, to be able to use the existing platforms that people are used to without having to mess up the environment. This is very important.
Ili kupata skiza tune ya Sitoki Jikoni kwenye simu yako, dial *811 *816#.
We, umeingiaje kwa hii jikoni?
Wewe wachana bwana, wewe ujui tulitokea wapi? Acha hata wewe toka hapa.
Wacha upuzi yako hiyo. Toka nje bwana.
Hii jikoni niko hapa ndani. Na nitakaa hapa ili make decision.
Wacha maneno yako bwana, toka nje bwana. Wewe unajua tulijenga hapa watu wawili hii jikoni.
Wewe kwa wakati nilikuwa naandikishana contract ya kufanya kazi kwa hii jikoni.
Wewe toka bwana, wacha
kupata skiza tune hiyo ya Sitoki Jikoni, dial *811 *816#.
Are you an aspiring candidate in the upcoming general elections? Do you want your agenda and manifesto to reach your voters effectively? At KBC, we have the most comprehensive and credible online platform that has profiles of all prospective candidates. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants and let Kenyans know more about you, your past achievements, your manifesto, and your development agenda once you get elected to office. What's more, the website is easy to navigate. We will create your profile, post pictures and short videos with your campaign messages at affordable hosting fees. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants today and establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
Sauti ya Kenya
92.9. Hii ni KBC Radio Taifa.
Kila kitu maishani kina sauti yaleta furaha.
Radio.
Sauti ya elimisha, yahimiza, yatuleta pamoja. Sauti ya Kenya
Radio Taifa.
A very good evening to you. Thank you for making time and staying with Prime Edition this evening. Time to do the business news. My name is Betty Kiptum. Now, tax breaks and export reward schemes for exporters are some of the policy interventions that former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is promising the private sector should he be elected president. Raila has told corporate Kenya that he will prioritize increasing the country's export volumes if elected. The ODM leader says he will reform the country's export and promotion policies to make Kenya more attractive to international investors.
According to data from the Central Bank of Kenya, export registered an 11.7% growth to 765 billion shillings in 2021, up from 685 billion shillings in 2020. The increase was buoyed by strong performance in the agriculture sector, especially horticulture and coffee that registered double-digit growth. Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga says if elected, he will prioritize incentivizing the export sector to ensure more SMEs join the export market.
We are going to promote the private sector. We're going to work with them to ensure that they do what they are required to do. And we are going to remove some of the impediments which have made it difficult for some of these companies to thrive.
The former premier says this will be achieved among other policies, introducing tax rebates to farm in the export sector and shifting to the export of processed agriculture goods.
We also are going to promote what we call Buy Kenya, Build Kenya.
Feel that we need to go deeper. Either way, we have committed to sit down with their team and our team and to continue to align, because private sector is the one that drives businesses, and we were saying that there's a scramble for Africa, and it is time that we start looking beyond our borders. So we need to have a strong private sector, strong economy, so that to position ourselves as the gateway into Africa.
To ensure the export sector is competitive, Raila says will unveil an award to reward the best exporters. Private sector called for more private-public partnerships to maximize the country's export potential.
Looking at business competitiveness, looking at some of the areas that we haven't done well. We have 9 years to Vision 2030, and we are looking at the gaps that remain.
The Kenya Private Sector Alliance says harmonizing the tax regimes and enhancing governance will attract more investors to establish their bases in the country, thus lowering the import bill that stood at 1.8 trillion shillings in 2021. Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Benson Rioba, for that report. Now, Kenya Power is banking on a 10 billion shillings financial bailout from Treasury to cushion it from revenue losses occasioned by the reduction in the cost of electricity. Kenya Power Acting CEO Rosemary Oduor says the bailout will further mitigate the deficit that may arise with the implementation of the second phase of 15% reduction in power tariff. The power distributor is in the process of managing system losses and cutting management costs to improve efficiency.
In January this year, the government implemented the first 15% reduction in power tariffs in an attempt to control the spiraling cost of living. The review, which was undertaken by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, saw industries and manufacturers get a reduction of 17.55%. Consumers under the domestic lifeline who use up to 100 units of power per month saw a reduction of 15.7%, with per unit cost dropping to 16 shillings from 19 shillings. Kenya Power says the power tariff reduction initiatives have shrunk its revenue margins, where now it's banking on a 10 billion shilling supplementary budget, which is awaiting parliamentary approval to plug the deficit.
15% reduction. If you look at like our last year financials, full year financials, the top line was 144 billion. If you gross that up for tax, goes to 160 something, and then you do 15%, you will end up at around 25 or 26 billion shillings. That leaves you now with the kind of deficit that you would expect at some point. Maybe the government would be able to plug in.
During the 6 months to December 2021, Kenya Power's revenue went up 21.09% to 83.5 billion shillings in the period, after operating costs dropped by 5.44%, or by 1 billion shillings to 19 billion shillings in the period. Kenya Power Acting CEO Rosemary Oduor revealed that talks with independent power producers are ongoing in a bid to review the current cost of power purchased and the terms of the existing power purchase agreements.
And we are now just about to begin the actual renegotiations. We believe that we'll get some efficiencies in that area, and that will reflect to the end user as a tariff reduction.
The electricity distributor has continued to roll out proactive turnaround strategy to increase electricity sales, cut costs and reduce system losses.
We have the area of increasing the sales by selling more, by connecting or onboarding customers quickly. We have the area of looking at any illegal connection that is not metered and removing the same. We have the area of looking at any person who has been connected and not metering that person quickly.
Caroline Jenga for Prime Edition.
Now, do you aspire to become a wealthy Kenyan? If yes, then entrepreneurship is your fastest way of evading poverty and climbing the billionaire ladder. According to the 2022 Kenya Wealth Report by Knight Frank, cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology are now leading creators of wealth among Kenyans. The report says the number of individual Kenyans worth more than 3 billion shillings increased to 3,232 in 2021 and are projected to rise by a further 27% to 4,300 in 5 years.
Blockchain and cryptocurrency technologies are fast becoming the next frontier of wealth creation in Kenya. Already, Kenya is a top crypto trading country in Africa and leads globally in peer-to-peer trading. Internet-savvy Kenyans are leading the world when it comes to using digital currency platforms. This has seen the creation of mint millionaires who are below the age of 40. In the 2022 Kenyan Wealth Report by Knight Frank, this new technology is creating new dollar millionaires by their thousands.
For wealth creation in Kenya, especially when we look at where some of the sources of this wealth is being created, it's in tech, it's in the metaverse, it's in blockchain. So when you've got those young entrepreneurs, you're really in a good place to take advantage of those opportunities.
Experts are saying that the growing niche in technology is quickly overtaking traditional sources of wealth for Kenya's most successful business owners.
This newly created tech wealth will go, but also they'll be investing it in property, in their new, maybe they'll buy a new house. We saw that a lot of Kenyan wealth is invested into property, and that will be the same for this younger entrepreneurial wealth. But maybe they'll, as part of their businesses, those businesses, even if they're tech businesses.
Knight Frank's Kenya Wealth Report revealed that Kenya's wealthy were targeting digital adoption, wealth inequality, environmental social governance, and domestic government policy as opportunities for investment. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
Well, now you know your way to the big bucks. That's it for Business News this evening. My name is Betty Kiptum. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Bye-bye.
Tatizo la kupata huduma za afya lilikuwa limewakaba wakazi wa mitaa ya mabanda kwa miaka mingi. Lakini kupitia uongozi wa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta, mitaa hii sasa inajivunia hospitali za kisasa.
Na wewe unahitaji?
Wiki hii kwenye Project 254,
I decided that it was important that we have the capacity to give healthcare to where people are.
Tumeona maendeleo imeendelea hapa kwetu Ruben. Saa hii dawa tunapata free, atulipishwi dawa, na tena matibabu yetu yote tunapata free.
Across for Edward Leuven, and that wraps things up for Blackburn. Here is Hurler and Demirovic, and Freiburg have now surely sealed their passage.
Welcome back. It's now time for us to get a little bit sporty. My name is Karen Kibet. Now, the National Olympic Committee of Kenya has embarked on a journey of effective service delivery by launching 9 commissions to ensure the policies and strategies set are achieved. Among the commissions put in place include gender, marketing, and youth.
The National Olympic Committee of Kenya has formed 9 commissions, with each member of the commission bringing something to the table for the committee's better service delivery. Among the commissions are strategy and performance, elite athlete performance, gender, medical and youth commissions.
The playground, we just want the facility, like we want to put a basketball court, we want to put a handball court, we want to put a tennis court. Why? Because the most important thing to a child or to a youngster is to just go and play.
The commissions will work to deliver the legacy plan mandate the NOC board is working towards. Each individual in the commission has a profile that adds quality and value to the committee's service delivery. 65% of the nominations were done by the federations, while 35% were done by the Secretariat and the Executive Board. The commissions were updated on the NOC strategic plan, with key performance areas exerting influence on their groups such as strategy and performance, elite athlete development, organization, sustainability, and capacity development.
Moving on, Kenyan CrossFitters have begun preparations for round 2 of the Global CrossFit Open to be held this weekend at the Alpha Fit Gym in Nairobi. The team began the competition last weekend as they target to become the first Kenyans to reach the semi-finals of the competitions to be held in Cape Town, South Africa in May.
Kenyan CrossFitters Emmanuel Mavala, Collins Malande, Jeremy Mugenyi, Joshua Alunga and Kanyoi Muikia are preparing for the second round of the Global CrossFit Open to be held this weekend. The CrossFit Open is an international competition involving 3 physical workouts over 3 weekends where athletes and individuals of all ages from all walks of life compete to test and improve their health and fitness. Ranking on the chart is based on completing as many rounds and repetitions of the different exercises within a 15-minute time limit. The CrossFit Open is considered the world's largest participatory event drawing competitors from all over the world. All participants are video recorded and submitted and then ranked on the world leaderboard.
First, I just want to see how guys have done the workouts, the scores. I want to see where I'm in, and then from there, I know how I'm going to attack the next workout. Looking forward for it.
The Kenyan team is hoping to become the first Kenyan team to reach the semi-finals, which will be held in Cape Town, South Africa in May this year.
Thank you, Kumu, for that report. And finally, VFL Bochum will host Freiburg tonight in one of the 3DFB Pokal quarter-final matches on the cards tonight. The match will be televised live on KBC Channel 1 from 10:45 p.m. The 2 Bundesliga outfits have each progressed past 3 sides to reach the final 8, with the hosts dumping out Mainz while their visitors thrashing Hoffen after extra time before winning in a penalty shootout following a 2-2 draw against Augsburg in October. Freiburg head into the quarter-final with consecutive top-flight wins that placed. Make sure you don't miss out that match that will be aired live on KBC Channel 1. That's all we had for you tonight. My name is Karen Kibet. Have yourself a peaceful night. But the broadcast is not yet over, as I do hand you back to Jacob Kioria and Serfine Achieng.
Thank you so much, Karen Kibet. And of course, at this particular point, we are just going to be taking you to another level in our conversation tonight on Prime Edition.
Conversation is with Speaker J.B. Muturi, the Speaker of the National Assembly and the party leader of the DP party. He hopes to be the third force. Let's have a look. He has been one of the most powerful people in the country this last 9 years, and now he wants to be the most powerful person in the country by leading you as President of the Republic of Kenya. I'm talking about Speaker Justin Muturi, who joins us tonight. Thank you very much, Speaker, for joining us.
Thank you too.
And congratulations for being nominated as a presidential candidate by your party and becoming party leader too.
Thank you. It was a great occasion. Yeah.
Before we even get to the nitty-gritties of our conversation tonight, tell us a bit about this boy from Kanyuambora whose sister has to sacrifice her education for him to go to school.
Well, the story is, yes, as I narrated it, but of course not in much detail. Safe to say that, that happened, it happened like that because apparently my parents noticed that I was doing extremely well in class, both in primary. So it was decided that, those years education of girls was still not very taken very seriously. So let's say now, since the boy is doing better than the girl, let the boy continue. Yes.
And let's come to you, bit Speaker. You spoke passionately on Sunday during your endorsement, and you spoke about the cost of yields of farming, the cost of commodities as it is today, and the cartels they're in. And first of all, it's a big topic right now, even on social media. Lower food prices. What would a Justin Muturi government mean for the people who are agitating for the lowering of commodity prices in the country?
Well, I think it is fair that this topic be addressed because in full, because I think there's a lot that has not been understood. When you talk about the cost of farm inputs, it's have gone through the roofs, and it's only fair that today we ask ourselves why. Why is it that people in Kenya would buy eggs from Uganda cheaply than the eggs produced here locally? Why is it that Kenyans, and I can tell you this because like I said in my brief bio on Sunday, I began my working career in Western Kenya, and I still even then remember at that time Uganda was really under those failed the second Obote administration. And I still used to see Kenyan grain traders, serious traders, coming to buy grain from Uganda. So, and it always perplexed me why. It was almost what you would call a failed state, because there really was no government then. But one thing that made that country remain stable was food. They never ran short of food, and this has caused me to go deeper and try to find out why is it so. Even our neighbors in Tanzania, thing that has kept them going is food, grain, cereals. So we must ask ourselves, other than just the quality of seed, what else is it that makes the food so expensive in this country? And I look at it and I see the problem starts from our administration at the ministry level, because we know that the size of land does not increase. If anything, it gets stressed year in, year out. And therefore, so we've been growing grain and all manner of cereals and all manner of other farm produce over and over. And therefore it becomes necessary to think about that which will give you a better yield. And therefore the issue of fertilizers come to mind. But what surprises me is fertilizer in Uganda is cheaper than it is in Kenya. So you start wondering how come. That fertilizer which is sold in Uganda, used by farmers in Uganda, passes through Kenya. But it is cheaper in Uganda than it is in Kenya.
Factoring even the cost of transportation.
Everything. And then the food, if it is maize or any bananas, whatever, that is produced in Uganda, is still cheaper. So there must be some very, very serious problem here. And here, let me just, I want to say without mincing words, it has to do with cartels. Because ask yourself, why is it that Kenya, Kenyans can import whatever type or size of vehicles from any part of the world? You can import a Mercedes, you can import a V8 from Japan, you on your own. Why is it that not a single Kenyan is allowed to do the business of importation of fertilizer? Fertilizer in this country is important through cartels or by cartels. Those people dictate the prices of the fertilizer. Even when we hear government saying it's going to subsidize fertilizer, it is subsidizing fertilizer which has been imported by cartels. So it still does not help the farmer. The price that they end up getting, the subsidized fertilizer in Kenya, is still higher, way higher than the cost of the same fertilizer, bag of fertilizer in Uganda. Same in Tanzania. And therefore, this is just, clear evidence that the problem is at the administration level.
You talk about administration, Speaker. Sorry for cutting you short. I'm just thinking about probably a local farmer who is doing potatoes or even onions or tomatoes. And you hear the price at which this commodity is being bought, then how the final consumer buys it from the person selling in Nairobi. It's mind-boggling in terms of pricing.
Precisely. It doesn't matter what it is that we are going to produce, as long as we're going to use important farm inputs. The way it is imported in this country, it is designed to benefit a few people. It is no wonder, in fact, I dare say, successful ministers of agriculture in this country have always found themselves getting entangled in that area of farm input, particularly fertilizer imports in this country. It doesn't matter who does what. The simple question that I keep asking is, is it not possible for us to know the cost of fertilizer in the world market? Import where Ugandans import theirs from. Import where Tanzanians import theirs from. So that if it is cheap, why is it cheaper in Uganda and it passes through Kenya? Efforts in the past, we know, have been made by some Kenyans to try and even set up fertilizer factories here. They've never, they just die at the conception stage, because those cartels can never allow people to set up fertilizer manufacturing factories here in Kenya.
You're a powerful person in this country. Do you know the cartels?
Well, I may not know because I'm not in the ministry. I don't know who gets the import licenses. Remember, again, this is something that is done. You are told that there's going to float something. An announcement is put in the media that we are going to open this window to bring this, but the people who are licensed are known to those people in the ministry, at the Ministry of Agriculture and at Customs. That's where the problem is. And unless we address that, overhaul it, allow any Kenyan, if you want to import, as long as you have the money and you're importing good quality, we have the Kenya Bureau of Standards to come and inspect what you have brought. If you bring chalk, it will be thrown into the ocean. But as long as you bring that which is certified, and we know this is what is used in Kenya, Kenyan farmers in this place, in the other place, you know what it is, what the kind of fertilizers they need. Allow other people to engage in that business. Why should in fact, you have seen the number of vehicles, second-hand motor vehicles in Kenya. There are so many showrooms in this country. And now they're not just limited to Nairobi and Mombasa. They are all over. In fact, I saw even in village towns like, my home town, Embu. I've seen showrooms, car showrooms, because people are importing vehicles with, without anything to worry about. It's you, the importer, who knows where you're going to sell. So if we allowed more and more people to import fertilizer in this country, I'm sure we'll bring the cost of these inputs so low that we will never need to go to buy chicken or maize from Uganda or Tanzania. our tomatoes will be good quality and they'll be cheap. They'll be affordable. Because we are talking about affordability. You know, once this thing, once it's allowed to be a cartel, obviously, these people are protecting their interests. And I dare say, all those involved in the ministries need to be investigated. Yeah.
The cost of input is not the only thing that adds up to. Commodity is being high. There's the cost of fuel. There's the cost of electricity. You have been Speaker for the last 9 years. I believe Parliament has technical committees that advise them on issues of legislation and policy. Don't you feel partly responsible as Speaker for the last 9 years? Members of Parliament have passed some of these policies or legislations that have added weight on the shoulders of the consumer.
Thank you. Actually, that's a very... I must really thank you for bringing out this question, because since Sunday, I've seen some people complain that, yes, he cannot complain he has been Speaker. I think these are the people who do not understand the role of a Speaker. The Speaker, in the first instance, the Speaker cannot move a motion, cannot move a bill, cannot even propose an amendment to it. And finally, the Constitution specifically, in Article 122, says the Speaker has no vote. I may have very strong views about whatever bill is being brought from the government side. I may really dislike it. The best I can do is to speak in a way that will show my displeasure, but that's just about all. If the members have been mobilized by the party which has the majority, they will still vote it, notwithstanding how strong they feel about it. And if they vote, I will still have to declare that they have won, even though I don't believe in what they have done. Because, remember, it was said by one speaker many years ago, on 4th of January, 1642, when the king in England stormed Parliament, because there were some 5 legislators who opposed the king's taxation measures. And the king was so annoyed, King Edward, he was so annoyed, he went there. He went and sat on the speaker's chair. And he said, can you show me those 5 rascals? And the speaker, in the famous words, Speaker James Lenthor said, may it please your lordship, in this place, I have no eyes to see, no tongue to speak, except as directed by this house, whose servant I am. That, to date, 4th of January, 1642, to date, that ably captures the role of a speaker. The speaker is not there to vote in a particular way. In fact, I always find it very strange when I'm with my colleagues, other speakers of some countries, like in Uganda here and in Tanzania, and a few other jurisdictions, where you find a speaker is also a member of parliament. So ask them, how do you represent your people?
The constituency.
Yes, because when you are a member of parliament, you are supposed to articulate the views of... Now, as a speaker, who cannot vote? Are you not denying those constituents their right to fair representation? So I think what we have adopted here in Kenya is actually the most fair system, that the speaker is not a member, does not represent a constituency, and therefore cannot vote on any motion or any bill. The speaker can give direction as to the legality or constitutionality of a law, of a proposed law. But that's just about all. The speaker's role in many of those instances is advisory, but where the constitution gives the speaker the power to make a definitive determination, the speaker again will do it. If anybody is not happy with the speaker's ruling at a particular time, they are at liberty to go and test that now in a court of law. But so people have said, oh, these prices, these laws have been brought. Even this year, the finance bill is going to come. it may contain some crazy proposals. The Speaker will, at the very best, look at them. If there's nothing against the Constitution, you leave it to the members to make a determination.
But very quickly, Speaker, and I'm sure you've met some of these allegations. When you speak about the corruption, there are people who think you have presided over the most corrupt parliament session ever. What would be your response?
You know, when you say the most corrupt parliament, I don't know because I don't know how what it is that they have done. There have been those, of course, occasional allegations that this one I don't know, go to the toilet to receive some envelope. I have no way of verifying some of these allegations. And you know, even when I attempted to investigate, the people who made the allegations came and denied. Even those ones who are actually caught on TV, saying, and I don't show them, are you not this or this one? They say, no, I never meant that. I said, what do you mean? You never meant that. You didn't say that this one. No. So what do you do?
You even had an instance last year with Moses Kuria and another person accusing each other of 100,000 bribe passing through the
I think some of those ones are just people trying to settle political scores. I don't think whether there was any. There was no truth in some of those. I think they were trying to settle political scores because I don't think it was not true. Even when we tried to ask him, he said no. He never. It was never intended for the House. So now you start wondering if it's just a question of a person. If you are called honorable member, surely you should go back to chapter 6. The title you carry it whether in the House or outside the House.
What's next for J.B. Muturi, now the party leader of the DP party and a presidential hopeful? What do you do between now and the next elections?
Starting now is very, very intense popularization of the candidature and the party. And like they always say, charity begins at home. I have said time and again that I find nothing wrong with a party being strong in a particular region. It is not unheard of. Even wherever, even in the US, we see red, blue states, what. And therefore, it's up to you as the members of that party to grow it beyond your region. But to begin somewhere and move out is natural. And I don't think whether it is anything, it's not... remember, the Constitution actually recognizes our ethnic diversity, but advises that should be our strength as opposed to the reason for our weaknesses.
All right. Are we going to see Justin Muturi forming his own coalition? We have Kenya Kwanza, we have Azimio as your competitors. And clearly, on Sunday, we heard you say you're not joining any of them. So are we going to see Justin Muturi seeking new alliances? Because it appears like a foregone conclusion, Speaker, that it is unlikely that you're going to form government next if you don't align yourself to a coalition.
Let me say this. Some people have very many ways of defining victory. If you ask those who have been in leadership of political parties, they have moved step by step. So you cannot start a journey and then the first thing you start looking for is somebody to carry you, like a baby oryx. Remember that baby oryx on the top of a lion? No. I think it will be, again, it will be bad manners. It is good to grow slowly, grow your party, convince people. Who knows? They say a day in politics is a long time, and therefore this is February, March, 9th of August. I think there's enough time for us to grow this party and grow this into a movement that will also attract others. We are not saying that we don't welcome others. We do. But of course we have our own standards. Remember, this is a party that really has, stands for justice and unity. And in addition, I am bringing in the mantra of integrity. Yeah. We really, because we need to, there are some people you'll get into. And if you listen to my speech, when I was giving that short history, NARC came together, but because NARC came together for the purpose of grabbing power, within the first 1 year, and I can tell you this because I was the minority whip, we are called then opposition whip, I could tell those people who were already in government, already beginning to come. Some of them were telling us, I can recall some incidents. One time I was leading the Public Investments Committee on a tour in Germany, and some minister then came and gave us some very weird story. How they wanted me, as a whip, to talk to others, see whether we can move a vote of no confidence in the government of President Kibaki. First time. I listened and I wondered, but this is minister. You are minister. And then, of course, try to say, people will be given money to go and run in their campaigns. Say, what is that now? So it just shows that if you come together, if you go into bed with some crazy bedfellows, utachomoka asubuhi. Utachomoka asubuhi. Kwa sababu utaanza kusikia, kumbe alikuwa na miiba huyu. Utaanza kukuchoma kila pahali. So it's good, even as you move to, have candid discussion with whomever it is that you want to move together with, if at all. Otherwise, there's no harm in you sticking to your lane. There's no harm.
There's no harm in sticking.
There's no harm. I mean, we have seen very many parties survive. They have 10, 12 members, 14 members, 23 members, but they're still surviving. So victory is defined in in relative terms. Yeah. So you should not worry. You shouldn't worry that this is not going to happen. No. I have confidence, and that's what I have.
All right. You say you don't mind walking alone. I know I'm under pressure to wind up, but I must ask you this. You don't mind walking alone. Are you saying that, as it is, Azimio and Kenya Kwanza are not options for Speaker J.B. Muturi?
I have not said that. I have said that if we were to go into any negotiations with any one of them, we must have everything on the table. Everything on the table, so that you know what it is. And I'm not, fortunately for me, I'm not the type that can be pushed around. Remember, I am saying this party has a great name and a great founder or founders. I would want to maintain the good name of the party and not go into some hurried arrangements with people with whom I may have questionable issues with.
Right.
So it's good for me to say this upfront that in as much as we talk with everybody, because in an event, leaders of political parties talk all the time. In fact, it is the founder of DP, Mwai Kibaki, who at one time was asked about what they were doing with Kina Charity Ngilo. And they were just having tea, and he said, there's a lot of politics in tea. So if leaders of political parties meet all the time, have tea, and discuss all manner of things. But it's up to you to make what you may out of every discussion you have with other people. Yeah.
Lastly, you talked about political hygiene in your speech. I heard you accuse people of changing parties like underwear, and you talked about bad manners, and then you said you appeared to have a problem with President Uhuru Kenyatta endorsing anybody as he exits? Why do you have a problem?
I've not said I have a problem with the president endorsing anybody. No, I never said that. It is his right. You know, I'm acutely aware of Article 38 of the Constitution, political rights. You know, it would be unfair to deny the president the rights to choose whomever he likes or he prefers. It was I never spoke in those on those lines. I mean, he has a right as much as I have. If he cannot deny me my rights, because he can't. So how would I also imagine saying it is wrong for him to exercise his political right? But I said I have difficulties understanding a situation where a city government would moves away from government into opposition to form a government. You know, it's a very strange. That I have difficulties with. And
government joining opposition
to form
government.
To form government.
Okay.
I mean, if it is the other way around, opposition moving from opposition to join government to form government, that makes sense. But the government, you move away from government to go into opposition to form government. I mean, so what have you been doing? That's what I have difficulties with.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Understandable. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank
for
you.
joining us tonight, and wish you all the best in your bid to popularize DP and your presidential ambitions. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Asante sana.
And so we put a cap on Extra Mile tonight. I'm Gotifa. Keep watching KBC because Kenya is watching.
FM ilayska umada.
Across for Edward Leuven, and that wraps things up for Here is Hurlan and Demirovic, and Freiburg have now surely sealed their passage.
Kuna nini mbona uko na wasiwasi? Mimi nilijua tu atafika hapa yule mwanamke, sio amefika.
Taratibu kuwa na heshima na kubwa zako.
Unafikiria sijui hii yote ndilie?